Gautam Adani lost half his wealth in a flash. Gautam Adani is a very well-known business tycoon who at the start of 2023 was valued at over $100 billion. However, his fortune soon took a plunge. In this video, we will talk about how Gautam Adani lost billions of dollars in the course of weeks. Alright, so Gautam Adani was the richest man in Asia, and his conglomerate giant, the Adani Group, had seen an increase in fortunes in the field of energy, utilities, mining, as well as logistics. But recently, we have seen that Adani has lost billions of dollars in worth after being subjected to an allegation of stock manipulation. But before we continue with what happened to Gautam Adani, let's briefly go over his journey before this whole incident. Gautam Adani, now age 60, hails from Gujarat in a very humble household. He started his work from being a diamond sorter in Mumbai and then went into global trading. His initial trades were related to polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, in connection with his brother's plastic company. This business eventually grew up to become Adani Exports and then became Adani Enterprises in 1988. Adani is generally referred to as India's Rockefeller, but the only distinction between him and the Rockefellers is that he does not come from a place of privilege. Instead, he has a very modest origin, which makes him closer to Narendra Modi, the current Indian Prime Minister, than Rockefeller or Rothschilds. Today, Adani Group consists of over half a dozen companies, which specialize in energy, transportation, as well as mining. Not only that, the Adani Group also manages ports and airports. But most of the revenue of the Adani Group comes from mining as well as shipping businesses. He also makes billions from coal in the energy industry, but he is also investing a lot of his financial capital in developing renewable energy sources, which he argues would be instrumental in moving India in the camp of developed countries. But the sudden increase in the fortunes of Adani Group has met suspicion and rumors among financial and auditing giants. Much of trading activity in Adani Group has been associated with holding companies situated in tax havens. The location of these holding companies has convinced certain financial commentators that something sinister is happening behind the scenes. Some newspapers had earlier reported that Mr. Adani was questioned in relation to taxes associated with coal imports. Reportedly, he was able to satisfy the tax authorities back then and was released. But what led to Mr. Adani's sudden decline, and how did that episode unfold? On 24th January, Hindenburg, which is a New York research-based organization, published an extremely damaging 100-page report. This report alleged that Adani was perhaps the biggest con man in corporate history. The organization was founded by Nathan Anderson in 2017. Nathan Anderson is a short seller himself. The research paper alleged that Adani Group engaged in brazen accounting fraud, stock manipulation, and money laundering. The paper further alleged that this was a lasting trend in the history of the conglomerate and was able to be accomplished only with the help of enablers in government and a cottage industry of international companies that facilitate these activities. Hindenburg has then mentioned 7 companies whose stock values have increased with Adani stock too. The report also concluded that these companies were ridden with debt. It is worth mentioning that Hindenburg had produced its report after 2 years of investigation. Hindenburg research also pointed out that Vinod Adani, Gautam Adani's brother, controlled more than 3 dozen shell corporations in Mauritius. There are other commercial units attached to Vinod Adani too, such as the ones operating in UAE, Singapore, and Caribbean islands. Almost all of these companies have non-existent infrastructures as well as an operational layout. There are no employees or a hierarchy in place for these corporations. Despite this, these shady companies were able to pour billions of dollars into Adani's companies. This means that these companies are being used for stock manipulation and money laundering. It seems as if the whole conglomerate was given a cosmetic look of financial solvency, concludes the Hindenburg report. The report goes into further details about the corruption cases opened up against the group in India. To date, Adani Group has been found to be at the center of 4 major government fraud investigations. To date, Adani Group's reputation is intact, but Hindenburg states that this was due to collusion with the authorities involved. This sounds pretty damning, but how did the Adani Group respond? The Adani Group responded with a 413-page report of their own. The company argued that it was very shocked about the allegations leveled at it. The report went further and called the owner of Hindenburg as Madoffs of Manhattan, which was a not-so-hidden reference to Bernie Madoff. The response from Adani Group stated that the document is a malicious combination of selective misinformation and concealed facts relating to baseless and discredited allegations to drive an ulterior motive. The company responded that the deviating impact which an investor can have sitting a continent away on the stocks of another company is simply disorienting. The response called the effect that Hindenburg had an unprecedented adverse impact. The report further said that this was more than just an attack on Adani Group, and that this was an attack on India itself. It amounted to an open assault on the independence, integrity, as well as the quality of Indian institutions, as well as its success story. But how successful was Adani in deflecting the damaging allegations of Hindenburg? Despite their best efforts, Adani Group's investors were rattled. Adani Enterprises had to bear the brunt of this frontal assault, resulting in a massive nosedive in their stock values. Adani Enterprises tried to compensate for the damages by managing to raise funds for a 2.5 billion share sale in the aftermath of the Hindenburg report. But Adani Enterprises had to later call off the sale when they were placed under increased scrutiny. International optics for the conglomerate also did not look too promising, as Credit Suisse had stopped accepting Adani bonds as collateral. S&P, the credit rating agency, has also downgraded its credit outlook on two of Adani's companies. Adani Company has responded that they will prepay for a loan of $1.1 billion, which would be backed by his company's share. Almost all of Gautam Adani's worth is tangled up in his company. This means that as the fortunes have reversed for his company, so has his personal stature. Now, Gautam Adani's net worth is half of what it used to be, valued at only $59 billion. Despite what Hindenburg has said, it is important to review the authenticity of the charges leveled. So, is the Hindenburg right in making these allegations? Before answering that very difficult question, it is important to step back and realize the scope of what the Hindenburg report has accomplished. Michael Kugelman, a senior policy analyst at the Wilson Center think tank, has equated the Hindenburg report to a massive jump in acceleration from 5 miles per hour to 500 miles per hour in the blink of an eye. What this meant was that there were rumors and speculation about the malfeasance in the conglomerate, but nobody had been able to conduct such a thoroughgoing investigation of the whole organization and lay bare its secrets. But what this report has accomplished is that it has exposed massive levels of corruption and bureaucratic shady dealing. But does that mean that the Hindenburg has only the public interest at heart? That is not correct. It is significant to recall that Hindenburg Research itself is a financial research organization owned by a short seller. This means that their purpose was also to make money off their investigative reporting. The owner of Hindenburg has stated that it is his passion to find scams and has been successful in finding financial irregularities in many companies, including Nikola and Lordstown Motors. Time will only tell if Adani Group will be able to rally its troops and finances from the scathing attack of the Hindenburg report. I hope you liked this video. Please click on the like button if you did. See you in the next video. Until then, take care.